Welcome to the Pastor Chira Show. I'm Pastor Chira, and today we launch. We launch into new territory. We launch into new mindset. We launch into new relationships. Are you ready to launch out? Come on and launch out with me as we go into today's show. So first, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who has been on a journey with us with the Pastor Chira Show in 2021. We went on this journey, we started this journey, and we didn't even know what we were doing, how we were going to do it, how it was going to manifest. And I am just grateful that we accomplished a full year of recording and of having conversations with different ones and going into different areas that we hadn't ventured into before. And we had some very interesting conversations and we dug into some areas that were maybe a little sensitive for some of us. And we still exposed ourselves to a lot of these conversations. And one of these conversations that we had was with Minister Vashti Gray. And our conversation with Minister Gray was on beauty. She is one of the most beautiful people that I know. But sometimes she didn't seem so. So let's look at a little bit of the conversation that Minister Gray and I had about beauty.
They
Watch
see
this.
you. For me, and it's interesting that we chose this topic for today because it's a very difficult conversation for me. Looking at me, it's not a secret that there is something going on with my face. And for my those that don't know, I had surgery, I had a tumor removed, and it caused me to have no movement, no nerve on one side of my face. So I have become accustomed to it. But when I look in a mirror or I look at people, it's a stare. So I know that they see it. They notice it. You can't help but see it. It's my face. It caused me a multiple setbacks. So at one point in my life, I just thought I was beautiful. Beauty is, you get your hair done, you get your nails done, you put on nice clothing and nice jewelry and put on your smell goods and you go outside and people say, "Oh, you're so cute," or "Oh, you're beautiful," or "Oh, you look so nice." It helps our self-esteem.
Right, right.
But I get to look up in the mirror and wake up every day and see a crooked face. That took me back. So when I had this surgery, I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to be seen. And I had my sisters, and you, of course, are one of them, that was like, "There's nothing wrong with you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you have to say that because you love me."
We don't
But
have
the
to.
reality is, but the reality is, I also have a child who was young and she was afraid of me when I came out of therapy and I went back home. She became accustomed to it, but it was something she had to get used to, just like it was something I had to get used to. So when I think about beauty, I think about what do I see when I look at people. So looking in this camera, looking at you, you are beautiful. Your skin is flawless. Your makeup is laid. Your hair is laid. You are absolutely stunning. But when I see me, I don't see that. So beauty truly is in the eyes of the beholder. And I say I don't because it takes time. It takes days, it takes months, it takes years to get to a point where I can look in the mirror and say, "You know what? I am beautiful." And then for me to get there, it took me going to the word.
It took her going to the Word. The Word is something that we can all go to that will pull out the beauty in all of us. Because God made us all beautiful in His sight. And she is definitely beautiful in my sight. And I know she's definitely beautiful in God's sight. And being able to go to the Word to find that inner beauty, to bring out that inner beauty, to show it on the outside so that everyone sees not just our face, but they see the beauty that God made us in. Because that's the beauty that we're supposed to show all the time. The beauty of godliness. And that's just one show that we did that was amazing. It was an amazing show. It was an amazing conversation. And then we went a little further. And we have this segment every third Tuesday where we sit with none other than Minister Troy Crafton. And he and I sit and we talk about the biblical observations and celebrations that are found within the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament. And in this conversation, we had a conversation about Lent. Let's hear a little bit of that.
Well, everyone calls themselves Christians. Everybody wants to be a Christian, and we follow the things. And being a Christian, we follow the things that Jesus did. So, and some of the things, like you said, you may not find Lent specifically as being a season inside of the scriptures, but you find that what Lent represents,
What it represents.
right? What
Mhm.
Lent represents is
Yes.
the 40 days and 40 nights of fasting that Jesus did, our Messiah, before he went to be crucified.
That's right.
Now, when he went,
What he did. The 40 days and 40 nights that Jesus was in the wilderness prior to the crucifixion. And it's significant for us. That time that he spent away, that he was in the wilderness, that he was talking to God the Father, that he was pleading with God the Father. But that time, that leading up time that he spent, it's a time set aside. It's specific time that Jesus Christ was set aside in preparation for what was going to happen. And this is a time that we set aside to put ourselves and to see what Christ did for us in order to get us to salvation when he went to the cross. Lent, this 40 days, it's an important time and it's seen in the Bible. And Minister Crafton, we sit down and we talk about those things that are seen within the Bible. So I want you to go back and I want you to look and I want you to go to our YouTube channel so that you can see some of these things, some of these conversations that we've had with our past guests, including this one that we had with a young lady who is exceptional. She is an up and coming worshiper. She is a worshiper in the making. And her name is Symphony Leftwich. Let's hear what she had to say about becoming a worshiper.
So, when I every like since I was a little girl, I always loved chemistry and science and everything science, earth science, human science. But my music came into play like when I said I was 7. My music came into play, and I have those two things, but I have this thing where I want to be the international gospel star. But then I want to be that scientist or that person that knows stuff that people just don't know about.
Right,
Like when you're
right.
on YouTube and people like 10 things that you didn't know about Symphony Leftwich, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love chemistry. I'm very good at the science stuff, and I'm very good at ELA and writing. Of course, you see my mom. That's exactly why I'm good at writing and stuff.
Right.
So um, there was always like a different path, and I never like used that different path as an excuse to get away from my music or my gift. So I mean, that was always the path. But if I don't do that, I still know all of this different stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I just apply all of my knowledge to my music now.
Hmm.
And one day, then I'll be able to go to college and get that degree, or get that college education in that in that era.
I am so. Listen, she's a young person who knows what she wants and knows how to get it. And that is through having a relationship with God and getting an education. She has been taught on what it means to not just want to be that international, because that's what she said, that internationally known person that is a worshiper, that loves God, that carries her life after God, that's what she does. But she also knows and realizes that there are other things that I can do. Gifts and talents, not gift and talent. Gifts and talents. And that's what she's working off of. That's what she's working in. And I love the fact that she was able to encourage other young people to let them know your gifts and talents, they will make room for you. And you need to get your education. Yes. Because God has so much for us that we don't need to limit ourselves. We need to be open to everything in every area that God has prepared for us. And that's something that her parents are teaching her. Mhm. Her parents, she has a good background. And so, even in that, we sat down at this one point and we talked to some fathers. Mm. We talked to three men who sat down and we talked about being a father and what that looks like. So, on the other side, we're going to go to a commercial, and on the other side, we're going to hear about what it means and how they became fathers. But we're going to take a commercial break, and we will be right back. Do you have a service or a business that helps others? Do you have an uplifting, inspiring, and encouraging conference or service coming up? It's time to get the word out. Advertise on The Pastor Chira Show. Go to thepastorchirashow.com and click on advertising opportunities to learn more. Let's let the world know about you. We're back. And we had a conversation with some fathers not long ago. And this conversation was with fathers that I'm very familiar with. One, because one of them is my father. And then two of them are my brothers, who are also fathers. And we sat down in a conversation like none that we had ever had before. And we learned a lot about one another, even on this father journey. Take a look.
For me, it's all about patience. I am not one for patience.
Yeah, you know.
But, and I'm still not one for patience.
At all.
You're not
But-
patient?
Not at all.
So, but I've learned through coaching and through being a father that you have to have patience, because not everybody does everything at the same time or at the same pace. And for me, patience is a big key. I can learn years to be more patient. I'm still getting there. It's nowhere near where I should be. But for me, it's all about being patient.
See? Okay.
Okay. You gonna just turn it right on over there.
I think as the youngest, being the youngest child and trying to figure out, also having sort of a replica of our family, it's been important for me to look at the positives and the negatives of what I was able to live and experience. And each one of our roles in our nuclear family helped me figure out what my role should be and how I could help my kids live into their God-created selves, you know? So like Dwayne and Joshua are very, very similar in person and just pushing them towards each other, because I don't know what that is. And you and Michaela just pushing y'all towards each other because no idea how to do that. And then me and Gabriel being very similar to each other, but also with me and Noel having shared a birthday. It's really interesting to see how God allowed for the family and I'll share the family that I was placed into but didn't necessarily get to enjoy for all of my days that I was being reared. He sort of replicated that and allowed for grace to be established in my own home when I had one myself.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Very interesting.
What about you?
That's strange.
It's strange.
It's strange because I listen to these two guys and how they have developed relationships with one another as they were coming up. And I did not.
I wish y'all knew.
My son.
Yeah.
How their relationship was mended together as they were growing to a large degree. I didn't have that brotherhood. I didn't have that. I had a sister who was 5 years younger than I.
Right.
But other than that, I didn't have that relationship. However, we had a large family, and I grew up in a family with a lot of people always there in the house, all cousins.
Right.
And we developed relationships as cousins, but in a lot of relationships, we were like brother and sister. So I look to them a lot, and I find that a lot of things that go on, I developed with these guys, and with you as you were growing up. But it's been interesting learning how guys, how gentlemen, how boys grow and develop in early years, so that when they come to a place of really understanding who they are, it's something that I have never experienced myself, but I learned through them a lot about myself.
From your son. Fathering. Parenting. We learned a lot by sitting down and having that conversation. We learned some things about one another that we never thought about and we never talked about. And it was interesting to sit down and have this dialogue and have this conversation with those that I know and that are the closest to me because they've been with me my entire life. And another candid conversation that I had was with someone that I didn't even know, I had never met. But in our coming to know one another and just having this conversation, the Spirit of the Lord was just there the entire time. And this inspiration from this young lady, Jocelyn O'Hannon Brown, was amazing. And I just want you to hear a little bit of that conversation from 2021. Take a listen.
Yes. Oh my God. So many times. And it's funny, you just said something so intricate. And a lot of times when you're called, when you're anointed, when there's a mantle waiting for you to pick up, a lot of times you're like, I'm good. God, you can have the oil. You can have the assignment. I'm not feeling this pressure. I'm not feeling all the attacks. I'm good. I really just want to do me. And sometimes we do us. And I will tell anybody, yeah, we can get ourselves into some horrible, horrible, horrible pits.
Mm-hmm.
But the grace of God is so wonderful. I can't I know we say this song a lot, but amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I see. Listen, when you get to that space where when you have nothing left but God, yes, Lord, you have enough to start all over again. I'm telling, it's not anywhere you can get so far. It's not any decision you can make that we pick other things over Christ. But
Yes.
somehow, if you just got a little bit of God, I need you.
Yep.
God help me. He hears.
He hears.
He hears your cry. And
Yes.
because he's married to you,
Mm-hmm.
he's married to the backslider. He said it in his word. He has a natural obligation
Yes,
to
he
pick you
does.
up off that pit and turn you around, place your feet on solid ground. I'm telling you,
Yes.
it's nowhere, it's not, there's no,
Nothing like
you
it.
can't get too lost for him. He can
Right.
always find you.
Right.
He's the original. Yes.
But
You
you can
think he's
always find him. He can always find you, but you can always find him. That's the. Listen, that inspirational conversation just went a whole nother way. And the way that God used Minister Brown and myself in the conversation, we felt God even in us sitting down in different places having a conversation, but God was in the midst. And even in these conversations, I found an old friend of mine who we served in ministry for a long time. And he went another path, and I went another path, but our paths continue to cross. And that's none other than Minister Aaron Draper. And yes, I said minister. He's going to get me, but you'll see why in a second. And Aaron is one of those that he is internationally known. He's a percussionist. He travels and he plays for various artists. But listen to him as he tells us a little bit about foundation. Take a listen. How do you find that?
I mean, the key word is that's the foundation, you know. So and I mean, you know, I haven't been perfect, but you know, the word is always with me. I know I got people always praying for me, so it always I always know I need to go home and just you know put my foot in the house and give back whatever I need to give back because that's going to bless me. Right now I've been back in my original home church playing drums actually.
Really?
And so, I know I've been playing here. And so I've been, just making sure everything's good there. Helping, telling Pastor to get a new system and take care of the drums and just little stuff here, getting mics. Just making sure the system sounds great. Having my friends that work, on these stages and do artists that do, sound men and have them come in and just make sure everything's cool with the church. Make sure, So, that's my way of giving back, my ministry to the church, because the excellence of what I do on the road, I bring it back home and make sure take care of it.
Bring it back home. Foundation. It's important that no matter what we do, no matter where we go, we always have a home base. And that's what our churches and our ministries are for. They are for us to have somewhere to come to always receive the word of the Lord for strength, for encouragement, for inspiration, for life. And that's something that Aaron showed us, and he told us that you come home. You don't forget about home. You keep your foundation to stay grounded, to continue in the work that God has for you to do, no matter where you are. And finally, we had one more conversation. And that was with someone else who has been foundation for me in my ministry and in my walk. And that's none other than Elder Crystal Knight. And she is someone who is always inspirational and always encouraging. And I just want you to hear just a little bit of what she said in our candid conversation in 2021. Take a listen. Of loss.
I think when we look at the period that we're in now, we all know we're going through this pandemic, but it's not just a pandemic, it's all those that we lost, whether it been friends, family, for some people, loss of jobs, loss of hope, anxiety levels are at an all-time high, emotionally, everybody's just all out of sorts. So this is like really a lot. And most people, you would think like, oh my God, how can anything good come out of this?
Yeah.
How can anything be birthed out of this? But I believe that even though things as bad as they are that happen out of it, something can always come out of that. And life has a way of pulling or extracting from us things that have been dormant for so long. And when you start tapping into the very the person who you are, and I think we talked about it just in our little sidebar conversations that sometimes, you know, unfavorable circumstances can somehow pull out of you what's needed for you to take the next step.
Right.
You know, and I've been able to do that because I was at a point where I didn't know how I was going to be able to do what I do. Sometimes you just like, how do I move forward? I want to take the step, but I'm afraid to take the step, you know, but things have a way of working itself out, you know, and I think we've been blessed. God has always shown himself faithful. You know, he said, the Bible says, I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. And I don't care what's happening. One thing I will say, God's got us covered, and he always makes a way for us, you know?
He does. He always makes a way. And God made a way for us to get through 2021 doing the Pastor Chira show. We accomplished this not knowing what he had for us, but we do know that he has more. So I want you to stay tuned. Continue to go with us on this journey in the Pastor Chira show as we continue to bring you more candid conversations with various people so that we can all learn and grow together. I'm Pastor Chira. This is the Pastor Chira Show, and I'll see you next week. God bless.